Welcome to Edge of the Rabbit Hole. We have a fantastic episode in store for you tonight. I am your host, Mike Ricksecker. With me, as always, our lovely co-host, Vanessa Hogel, and then, of course, our chat shenanigator, Shauna, down there in the chat room, the beautiful chat shenanigator, Shauna. So, like I said, we have a great episode tonight. We have William Stillman, a very, very fantastic guy. We're having a wonderful chat, or actually I was kind of listening into a wonderful chat between Vanessa and William just before the show. So let me give you a little bit of a rundown on William here. So psychic, I'm just going to read from the first couple paragraphs of his bio, which is quite lengthy. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So psychic William Stillman is the internationally known award-winning author of the Autism and the God Connection book trilogy that explores aspects of spiritual giftedness in many people with autism. These books encompass Autism and the God Connection, the Soul of Autism, translated in 3 languages to date, and the Autism Prophecies. His other books of the paranormal genre include The Secret Language of Spirit, Understanding Spirit Communication in Our Everyday Lives, Conversations with Dogs, a psychic reveals what our canine companions have to say and how you can talk to them too, and Under Spiritual Siege, How Ghosts and Demons Affect Us and How to Combat Them, about spiritual warfare and how negative spiritual entities affect those of us who are susceptible. Since 2004, Bill's worked professionally as a psychic and spiritual counselor. His accuracy in discerning the truth and making predictions that come to fruition has been acclaimed by his clients as truly extraordinary and ranks at 90 to 98% accurate. He specializes in identifying clients' gifts and talents, as well as aiding discarnate spirits, ghosts, to transition to the heavenly realm. And he has investigated hauntings on behalf of the Pennsylvania Paranormal Association. Bill has also relieved others of the physical symptoms of pain and discomfort with prayer and laying on of hands. He has been consulted on missing persons and unsolved homicide cases, and you were featured by Glenn Beck. I'll just throw that one in there at the end, which I thought was very cool. I mean, politics aside, that's a big spotlight. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for making me feel welcome and at home.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have a new book out, and I guess you want to give us a little rundown of just the new book real quick, and we can get into it too. That's The Secret Language of Spirit, which sounds like another fantastic book. You have quite a few of them to date.
Thank you. I wrote this book, as I was telling Vanessa, we were chatting before we came on the air. I wrote this book really as a fundamental primer for the layperson to help people who are questioning, who are wondering, who are exploring, to make sense of what's what as they are coming into their own and engaged in the act of becoming. And when I was going through that process, I kept reaching out to people that I thought could help, that I thought could answer questions, and nobody would respond to me. So I suppose that was by design, because I am self-taught in all that I do. And I wouldn't have it any other way, but I didn't want for anyone else to struggle in the way that I did. And so I put the best of what I know about the ways in which loved ones in spirit might reach out to us. And it's always going to be in ways that are very simple and subtle and gentle, completely non-invasive, non-intrusive, should never be frightening. And I also wanted to explain a little bit about my understanding of the heavenly realm based upon the glimpses of it that I've received in meditations, in dreams, and also as a byproduct of interviewing clients, loved ones in spirit, who are telling me bits and pieces about what's going on. Up to a certain point, there seems to be a firewall there where
right.
They're not permitted to talk about much more beyond that in any detail. So that's the most recent book, The Secret Language of Spirit.
Now, I do have a question for you. I kind of want to jump right in there.
Go for it.
When you talk about how you're self-taught, I mean, I know quite a bit about that. The same pretty much goes for myself. And you say that it ends up, it probably was by design. How much how much do you want to have it structured for others, but still give them leeway to find the path that works the best for them?
That's a really good question, Vanessa. And in one of the chapters, I talk about the concept of being impressed with visual imagery and visual symbols. And that can only occur within the purview of your individual points of reference.
Okay.
So my lexicon is most likely not going to be your lexicon, but it's the manner in which the information may manifest to you that is going to be universal to us all as human beings, because it's playing off of our physiology, our senses, our emotions, and our memories.
Okay.
So I really see myself as a linguist who has become reasonably adept at interpreting a foreign language and putting that into words for people who are not yet as fluent as I am. And it is a language of symbols and icons, and it feels very much at times like decoding hieroglyphics.
It's fascinating when you put that way, because I've explained to others, and so have other people that I know, when you're talking about spirit communication, it rarely sounds like me and Mike and you talk.
Exactly.
It's very much about finding the pieces of the puzzle that are given to you at different times and working at connecting them together so that you can get that message.
Absolutely. We have to remember that when we are receiving authentic spiritual communications, we're interacting with energies that, if they're where they should be, in the heavenly realm or the spirit world, they're absent a physical body. They don't have a human form. It's energy vibrating at various frequencies. And we're each assigned a note on that musical scale. And that's how we distinguish one another. But no one has a voice box. So you're quite right. It very rarely comes through in ways that sound like conversation that is spoken. So it's going to come through like a stream of mental pictures, movies, words, phrases, sometimes a name. It may be something that you physically feel. You may smell, hear, or taste something, because again, they're playing off of the familiarity of your personal physiology, your senses and your emotions and your memories. So that's where there might be a little bit of tweaking in terms of the interpretation, because what I've been exposed to over my lifetime may be a little bit different from what you have lived and learned and understood. And that's where I would need you to work with me to help to validate what I'm saying, or to help me to tweak it a little bit if my interpretation's a bit off.
Now, we do have a quick question from the chat room already, and I do want to give a quick shout out to our Mad Hatters down there in the chat room. Also down there at Periscope, thank you for the hearts. And Beyond the Light Network, we are also broadcasting over Spreaker. So thank you all, and we'll gladly accept all of your questions. So this one is from Rebecca Gardner. How do you decipher between those with gifts and abilities versus a highly sensitive person?
Let me say, Rebecca, that there is not one of us who does not have as our God-given birthright the ability to access our spiritual gifts and talents and to employ that aspect of our personhood to be of service to others. That is why we are here. So, God bless those highly sensitive people, because they are born into it naturally. And there are times when that exquisite sensitivity may also be painful. Vanessa and I were talking about being empaths,
right,
and taking on the pain and suffering of others as our own, and feeling that resonate with us. And I have had people ask me, how do I get rid of that? And I have said, no, 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 no. The world needs people like you in it. The world needs people who are compassionate and sensitive and concerned. And I would not want to see that weaned out of anyone.
Absolutely. Being a warrior does not mean without feeling. If anything, being a true warrior and being able to deal with this means that you feel greatly, and it is your warriorness is how you decide to use that pain that you're taking on from other people. And it's not easy. It means you gotta bite your tongue a lot when you don't want to, you know. But he's right. We all have it. Mike and I tell people that all the time.
Now,
it's just like open the box.
Little footnote there. Little footnote is we all have it, but are your intentions for accessing it authentic? Right. Because this is not about wanting people to think you're special or you're cool or you're superior to anyone else. This is not about performing.
We've met plenty of those, yeah.
So that, you know, you wow and awe people and people flatter you and stroke you. This is about operating under the banner of humility.
Yes, you know what? If I could reach through here and hug you, I would, because that's one of the things Mike and I talk about a lot on this show, and different people that we have on, is a lot of people have the TV version of what we do in their minds, and they can't understand. This hurts. This isn't fun. It's not something that if you had a choice, a true choice, to decide not to do it, you know, it's not something you would have chosen for yourself. It just isn't.
I have to say, I love what I do very much.
You do, but it sucks sometimes, don't it?
Well, it is precious to me, and I do treat it with great care and concern. And I desire to be as pure and clear and clean a channel as possible. And that's a very disciplined lifestyle. This is not a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And the other thing that
I've seen some of your, because I watched some of your video clips, and you talked about how you kind of have a strict regimen. You're a vegetarian. You have a nice workout schedule that you partake in. So it sounds like your lifestyle is very just clean, orderly, very well set up.
Well, I don't drink or smoke anything. Never touched an illegal substance in my life. I don't cheat or lie about anything, not even what other people call white lies. And I don't curse or swear. And you're right, I'm very clean in the way that I am mindful of what I consume. Mm-hmm. And I exercise every day. And again, I desire to be as pure and clear and clean a channel as possible. And for me, personally, that has been effective.
Fantastic. And real quick, Tom McNicholas with a $5 super chat. Cheers to the spiritual world is what he says. Thank you very much, Tom. Absolutely appreciate it.
Yeah. William,
I'm sorry. Could I just interject something else, Vanessa? Because you mentioned about how things are portrayed on television. And there's another misconception there, in that the layperson may think that people who are psychics or people who are psychic mediums, and there's a difference, are turned on 24/7. And we are not. And you should not be. It is a process that I enter into deliberately and consciously. And when I am finished, I'm done. And I go 1, 2, 3, off duty and closed for business. And that is...
I need to learn from you, because I don't do that. I'm going to be very honest. I don't.
Well, the concern, and I think perhaps that may be why you are susceptible to feeling fatigued and run down. Also, you have to preserve and protect yourself. That's not selfish, that's self-preservation.
Yeah, I need to learn that.
Yeah.
You can ask Mike. I'm the worst. Like I said last show, I'm a do as I say, not as I do gal. And I admit it. I admit it. You know, I do have another question just because I was looking here in chat and I didn't see one just yet. But my best friend, her oldest son is autistic. And she and I have spoken at great length that he is gifted. And I would love for you to go into some details about what you've written about on that subject, because I think that a lot of people don't pay attention to that, and I think they look over it because for whatever reason, any type of disability like that makes people uncomfortable, and it shouldn't.
Well, the discomfort is not about our differences. It's about anxiety for confronting our mutual similarities. The average person who has apprehension about someone with disabilities is struggling with the concept of we are all more alike than we are different. And there is also a humility in recognizing that not one of us is perfect, and we all have some sort of, if not disability, eccentricity, idiosyncrasies, and so on. So the more we try to push away from considering that we are more alike than different, the more we give rise to a culture of fear.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Now, to address your question about people with autism, I don't want to speak for all folks with autism, and I've actually had people with autism disagree with me about a natural predisposition to spirituality or to accessing that part of your personhood. But I think that it makes good sense when you consider that about half of people with autism are not wired for speech. And you consider who else would spend absorbing amounts of time in states of solitude. Well, I think of the nun, the monk, the yogi, the rabbi, the priest, the guru, and they enter into it deliberately also, and they're entering into it deliberately to connect with the source and to strengthen that relationship. Well, the person with autism who doesn't speak is born into it naturally, and they're naturally engaged in perpetual meditation, if you will. And so it has been my experience, and I've been in the field over 30 years now, it has been my experience that these are the people who are most often predisposed to perceiving things that are seen and unseen. And you're right, there's a curious paradox there in that for the most part they are seen as defective or deficient when in fact they are the keepers of great wisdom.
Agreed.
Just real quick, because I didn't want to cut you off midstream there, but while you were talking, we had a $25 super chat from Andrew Cox. Thank you very much, Andrew. That is absolutely fantastic, and we certainly appreciate that. So $25 super chat. I think that's the first $25 super chat we've had. So thank you.
You'll have to tell me what the super chat's all about.
The super chat is it does a couple things. One, it's a donation feature to the channel. It helps support us in what we do here on Haunted Road Media. It also puts the chat box in real nice, bright colors, so it kind of really stands out for them so that we can, whatever they want to tell us, ask us, whatever, we're able to see that really nice and clearly. So
that's terrific.
Yeah.
I feel like this is sort of like a telethon, so let's keep it
almost.
going.
So something that I did want to, I know you're talking about the autism, and I think we can kind of play back and forth a little bit. Is that you had mentioned before the show that you started into this a little bit later in life, like your early 40s. So it's kind of something that's always been with you, kind of off and on, but like really blew up for you early into your 40s.
Well, I'm a 55-year-old man now, so
Okay.
very much a late bloomer where all of this is concerned. Although it didn't start out that way. I started out painfully, exquisitely sensitive, and when you're very young, a lot of your peers are sort of oblivious to that. But boy, when you enter into adolescence and people start to become a little more sophisticated and oftentimes more judgmental, and you're a boy and you're gentle and sensitive, that doesn't
Yeah.
go over so well.
No.
No, it doesn't.
I was most definitely odd man out. And for about 7 to 8 years of my life, on virtually a daily basis, I was verbally abused and physically harassed, and my speech and my body language were openly mocked and mimicked in front of adults, cafeteria staff, bus drivers, and teachers, and no one did anything about it. And as we were talking before we came on the air, I did not have a support system in place. I did not have faith in my faith. And I began reflecting back what other people were projecting upon me, which was the improper or inauthentic response, but it's the path I went down. As a matter of course, I also became very much attracted to dark things. Now, this is the early 70s, so you had the amazing Kreskin and you had Gene Dixon, or you had everything else got lumped into the category that was called the occult.
Right.
And that was witches and spell casting and demonology and werewolves and vampires, and that's the stuff that I got drawn to. And lo and behold, it started attracting to me as well.
Right.
And for quite some time, there was a very nefarious presence that made itself known to me loud and clear every night as I was trying to fall asleep. And I would hear him coming. I could hear his footsteps, and there he would be standing in my bedroom doorway, about 6.5 feet tall, a black silhouette, long floor-length black coat, a black broad-brimmed hat, and he communicated telepathically. And he was there for the sole purpose of seducing me into recruitment.
Oh, wow.
And promising me power and authority over my tormentors. You can imagine how attractive a proposition that was.
Oh, absolutely.
At the time. And I also need to stress that this was not frightening. It was unnerving and it was unpleasant, but I was not frozen with terror because that would have undermined his agenda. His agenda was to entice me to join forces with him. And he gave me a little taste of that, of what that would be like, standing on the recess playground, because I thought I could cast spells. And I was talking this up to a couple of other kids that were, rather gullible. And they said, well, if this is something you can do, prove it.
Right.
And I said, well, what would you like me to do? And they said, break up that fight. Well, about 4 or 5 yards from us, there was a multi-boy pylon. There was this huge fight with, probably a dozen kids. And they said, break up that fight. I said, all right. And I started reciting what I thought was a spell. And it didn't even really matter if it wasn't a spell. This is what happened to drive home the point that this was real, what was happening to me. As the moment I finished that spell, in the next beat, a gust of wind swept across the playground that stank like cow manure and sent everybody scattering.
Wow.
And these kids turned to me with their mouths open. And that's the moment I realized, hey, this phantom This is real. This is not my imagination. Now, when I was researching my last book, Under Spiritual Siege, about ghosts and demons, I was shocked to learn that many, many other people have seen the exact same entity that I saw in 1973.
Yeah. I've
And
heard descriptions of that.
My friend Heidi Hollis has coined the term Hat Man.
Yeah.
And that is what I saw.
Yep. Yeah, I've just real quick. I do want to interject another comment, but Tammy Heitzman, $5 super chat, and Jen, $10 super chat. Really, really thank you guys very much. I know you did that a few minutes ago, but again, it's absolutely fantastic. Love you guys. Yeah, so that Hat Man experience, and it wasn't a Hat Man for me, but it was dark humanoid figure without the hat for me in my bedroom. Didn't actually say anything to me, but it came up, actually physically interacted with me, did the strangest thing, crossed my arms across my body, and then ran off down the hall. But yeah, I'm definitely familiar with what we've kind of coined as shadow people. So,
see, and I find it fascinating because I'm a practitioner. I practice witchcraft, and I have for many, many, many moons, and I have not, I have not had that experience. If anything, everything that I've dealt with, excuse me, has been of a loving nature. Everything. Sorry, I'm still getting over a sinus infection. I've seen the dark. I've seen the negative. But I won't let it in.
Well, as we were saying, Vanessa, I have decided to totally flip it, and I'm grateful for the experience. So I'm going to disempower it by expressing my gratitude, because I will make it work to my advantage, because I am able to see it in other people. I have cleared houses, and man, I have seen imps scattered to the four corners of the room when I walk in, because they know who I am and what I'm about, and that I've been there, done that. So
I've come into contact with the negative spirits plenty, but never one that did that, never one that did what happened to you. I've never had that. I have one that stuck with me. He's a bugger, and I've written about him, but I've got him under control. But I've never had that happen, and that's what I find so fascinating. When you were telling the story, it reminded me so much of what Mike has talked about as well, and I was so glad he brought that up, because that's not something that I've dealt with. I've dealt with many dark things, but not that.
Well, I don't know Mike very well yet, but right. I suspect that he has also used his experience to his best advantage in putting it out there and illuminating the truth. When you bring in the light, when you shine the light on it and you illuminate it, there are no more secrets.
Right. Well, basically what I've done by sharing my story is, there's other people out there that have had similar experiences, and they're keeping it bottled in because, there's, been this long-standing connotation that if you talk about seeing things or hearing things or what have you, that, loved ones will think you're crazy. You may be ridiculed, based on your religion and what have you. And so I've always tried to present that, you're not crazy. You're not going to be ridiculed. Other people have experienced these things. You're not alone. For you, as you described the story, you were shown a power that could possibly be had. So what made you decide to, eventually not go down that path? You said you explored the dark side a little bit, but now you're in the light. So what made you decide to come to the light?
I've got to think that something somewhere inside of me was wise enough to say, don't engage with him. Don't resist him. Don't engage with him. But that didn't prevent me from descending into a dark period of time in which
Sure.
I became very cynical, very judgmental, severely depressed to the point of almost taking my life, and developing post-traumatic stress disorder that haunted me into adulthood. And I just want to point out that this is how insidious and cowardly these negative energies can be, in that they will prey upon people who are already vulnerable and who are already struggling with addictions or struggling with mental health issues. They will prey upon children who don't yet know they are empowered to say no.
Right. And you were being bullied at the time, which I can understand, because I had a period of time when I was a child being bullied. So, yeah.
It was the worst period of my life. But, I've talked about it publicly. I'm being very transparent with you now. And so I'm going to continue to illuminate the truth. I think that's one of the most powerful and important things you can do, as you have said, is to talk about it and to put it out there, because, boy, we are in the midst of spiritual warfare right now, and it's called the opioid epidemic.
Mm-hmm. I'm in the medical field. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Totally get it. I see it every day. Every day.
If you talk to people who are recovering addicts or recovering alcoholics, oftentimes they will talk about in their darkest hours having heard a voice other than the voice that they would use as their own to talk themselves through something, hearing another voice, often very guttural, very nasty, very angry sounding, telling them to harm themselves or others.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to get some water.
I forgot mine, and I'm angry.
Nah.
I'm all dry from the sinus medication. Yeah, I actually, a lot of people don't know this, but I was an alcoholic at the age of 12. But that
Really?
was, yeah, I was an alcoholic, a very big alcoholic. But I had my own personal things that I was dealing with at the time.
I bet you were clever about it, though. I get the sense that you were clever about it. Yeah.
I was a cheerleader, and we would load up the oranges with vodka and eat the oranges. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was an altar boy, and so I would sneak back and take a few sips. But
sips of the wine.
Yeah, a few sips, but that was it.
I actually lost 2 days of my life. I was so drunk.
Oh wow! At 12.
Wow. That was at 13.
Okay, 13. But still 13. Jeez.
Yeah, I almost drowned in my friend's bathtub because I was.
My.
But I don't drink now. I knew enough that this was not going to end well for me. I wasn't going to be around to do any of the things that I needed to do.
Yeah. I almost slashed my wrists when I was 16. Wow. I was home alone. My family had gone out. I was so depressed I didn't want to be around anyone. So they went on a road trip for the day. I was home alone. And I sat there with my father's straight razor, and I played this out in my head. What would this be like? Would I panic? Would I go through with it? I imagined that as I started to bleed out, I would get a ringing in my ears that would just get louder and louder until I would go into the sound and disappear. And something inside me said, don't do this. One day people will know who you are for what you have to offer. And in that moment, I had absolutely no clue of what that was or what that would look like, but it was enough to deter me from harming myself.
Good.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it? Something deep inside tells you that you are meant for better things.
We do have protectors around us. We do have guardians around us. There's very much a limit to what they can do in terms of altering timelines or interjecting themselves or interfering in any way. But in those moments of dire emergency, I believe that they can impress themselves upon us in a way that could be life altering.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're referring to your spirit guides, right?
Well, not even necessarily spirit guides, but even, grandparents or ancestors or loved
Okay.
ones who have passed on before
Sure.
us. Sometimes angels, angelic presences.
We have movie star memories here in the chat, Mike. I'm sitting here looking at this. If you wonder, William, why I keep looking down, I'm monitoring the chat as well.
I'm doing the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Go ahead. Take it.
yes, it's just a very simple question, but it's poignant. And it's they say, why do sensitives do this? I did the same. When we're talking about self-inflicting stuff. To me, the answer is very simple, and I'm sure you will agree, and you'll have more to say on it. But sometimes it just gets to be too much.
The world hurts.
It does.
The world hurts, and it's hard to be human. And I think we should give ourselves credit, particularly those among us who are most sensitive and most struggling. Give yourself credit for showing up and being human. At some point in your soul's trajectory, you elected this life. You chose to be human, and it's tough. It's challenging. So, give yourself a little pat on the back for getting as far as you have.
Exactly. I mean, every day you wake up with breath in your body, honestly, is a gift. Even if it seems like the day is going to suck, it's a gift. It's because we have free will to do with our lives what we see fit. And it's how we choose to use that makes all the difference in the world.
I am living proof of heeding the call and doing what you are. I walked away from my job 18 years ago with nothing else to go to, nothing else lined up, gave up my benefits, my salary. And I'm certainly not encouraging everyone to do this, but it was a call that I answered, and it has been an absolutely amazing ride. Absolutely extraordinary. I've never been without money. I'm not wealthy, but I've always had what I've needed.
Isn't it
You've
weird
always
how
been taken care of.
Yeah. It's that strange check in the mail you weren't expecting when they're getting ready to cut the lights off. Tell me I'm wrong, William. Tell me I'm wrong.
Well, it's never been quite that desperate. But it's been beautiful. It's been amazing. It's that sensation of hitting your stride, coming into your own, and doing what you are.
We have a comment here from Beat 3 Airspace. Says, William Stillman, you are a love.
Oh, that's very sweet.
That's
very sweet. Thank you. What is the name?
Beat 3 Airspace.
Beat 3 Airspace. Thank you.
We have lots of love going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of hearts going in the chat right now.
Lots of love.
Well, that's lovely. It's reciprocated.
We have great people.
And Vanessa, I've been sending you lots of healing energy your way too.
I do. I mean, you and the amoxicillin should kick this thing's butt. So. I got my fingers crossed. Now, I'm curious. We always ask people on the show, what their favorite experience is and what they've done, and what their worst experience is and what they've done. And I try, sometimes to hold off on those questions because it can be repetitive, but I have a feeling that your answers are going to be surprising. So would you tell our audience what those are, best and worst?
Well, probably the worst experience I've already addressed.
Yes.
And it was that really awful, dark period of time in my life. And in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I got it all out of the way when I was younger, because it's been just coming down home stretch ever since. It's been beautiful. Now, I will tell you, one of the most beautiful and satisfying experiences that I've had was encountering my friend Travis, who had been murdered. He had been shot.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And he, we weren't friends then, but we are now. And he showed up at a public event that I was doing because a cousin was in the audience. And I was, acting as his channel and relaying information. And when he started cursing at me in a really vulgar way, I knew this is not a spirit in the heavenly realm. This is someone who's stuck, or a ghost.
Okay.
And long story short, I helped him to cross over. It took a long time to wear him down and to gain his trust. But he finally decided to try to give it a go. And I was very involved with his mother during all of this. And she also got a clear sign that he had transitioned successfully, and was much happier where he was. And then 6 months later, she was killed in a car accident.
Oh.
Very sudden and unexpected on black ice. And I was just so thrilled and so honored and so grateful that I was able to facilitate that healing process for her. If that was her intended time to leave, I'm so gratified that I was able to mend those outstanding hurts and struggles of the emotion, and that she had been so depressed she could barely move, she could barely get out of bed. And boy, once she got the validation that Travis had in fact moved on, she became involved. She was befriending other mothers who had gone through similar experiences. And boy, if she had to go out when she did, I'm just so relieved and so glad that we were able to make amends for her before all of that. But that whole story about Travis is in the book Under Spiritual Siege, by the way.
All right. Question from the chat room, and we do have a lot of people in the chat room tonight. So for those of you that are new to the channel, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button, the little notification bell as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. This is from Rebecca Gardner. Question: is it common for those with gifts not to be able to connect with their own loved ones?
I have found that intuitive aspect of our personhood works in little bits and pieces here and there, but by and large, it's about being of service to other people. And so it certainly does not work for me in the same way that I am able to serve as a conductor or a conduit for other people. I kind of think of myself as a garden hose, and God's the control of the spigot, and then it flows through me. So it doesn't come from me, it comes through me, and then is dispensed out the other end. But it rarely works for me personally. But then I have to tell you also, there's nobody that I know in spirit that I feel I need to hear from. Like I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good with everybody, and there's no desperation there.
So there's no family or what have you out there that you're just craving to hear from. It sounds like you're more, those that you're helping in the here and now, and maybe connecting with their relatives.
I just came from doing that tonight. Just amazing. I get blown away by the specificity of the information that comes through. I was sitting tonight with a gal whose alcoholic, abusive father came through loud and clear. And he called her baby girl. She said, yes, that's what he called me. And as he was pulling back, he said, sayonara. And she about fell out of her chair. He said that all the time. And there was a healing that occurred for her. And there's a healing that occurs on a regular basis. I meet a lot of abusive dads in spirit, and some moms, but a lot of times abusive fathers or people that have been emotionally disconnected. And I want our listeners to understand that when they get to where they're going, and if they get there successfully, it's like removing lenses that have been foggy and having 360-degree vision now. they see everything so clearly, and they've also had the opportunity to experience reliving certain circumstances from the perspective of other people. And so they are granted the kind of insight that they wouldn't or couldn't take when they were here in human form. And they so much want to express that. And sometimes they will curse and swear because that's part of their personality,
Right.
and how people would know to recognize them. And so there's even greater authenticity to it when I have to say, you need to know I don't talk this way.
I saw one of your videos where you're kind of pre-apologizing in case that happened.
Yes.
Yeah, I do talk that way, and I'm keeping it so clean for you tonight. You have no idea.
Right.
Aren't you sweet?
I'm trying my darndest. I am, and I'm surprised they're not freaking out in the chat.
Yeah. We do have, oh, wow, Jen, a second $10 super chat. She says, I love you guys. Thank you so much, Jen. We really do appreciate that support.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and Jen is one of our Patreon patrons too, so that's fantastic. We do have another question from the chat room. Shauna is shenanigating, and she's put up here a question from Karen Lynn, River City Paranormal. And the question is, why is it some people can come through and others can't?
You know, that's a really good question. What was the name?
Karen Lynn.
Karen. That's a great question. You know, it's not something that I have control over, and it's not going to be what you want it to be always. I think that I can only speak for myself and my experience working as a psychic medium, but it's going to be what it's going to be, and you're going to get what you're going to get. And that may not necessarily align with what you want or expect. It can, but not necessarily. And I tend to attract the people that you would least likely expect to hear from, because that gives credence to the authenticity of what then they end up communicating. So there are times when it's very frustrating for me when I've just spent half an hour channeling someone's abusive alcoholic father who's coming through and humbling himself as someone who had been in the military service and is saluting a civilian as a show of respect. And we get through all of this, and then the person says, well, I was really hoping to hear from my mother.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's disheartening.
It's going to be what it's going to be, and I can't make it be anything other than what it's going to be, and I'm not going to force it to be what it's not going to be either.
Right.
Vanessa, you know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's not like picking up a phone and dialing a number.
I tell people this is not an on-demand service,
No.
and I do not have a remote where I can punch in deceased Mother Mary and go.
Well, and the thing is, I think that people, when it comes to loved ones coming to them, I think that sometimes you can be so close to the situation or want so much to speak to the person that you miss the signs they're giving you. The person that's wanting the contact misses the signs that they're being given.
Well, I also tell
that verbiage.
I also tell people, listen, desire, not desperation, is going to work in your favor. Yeah. So not only do I let people only come to me once a year, but I ask that they give a good 9 months to 12 months to wait until they're ready to contact someone who has passed on that they were close with, because they're still grieving and mourning. And I also want to give that soul's energy time to, get reacclimated and reacquainted and so on. I will never forget a mom coming to me. Her son had overdosed. And he came through, first words out of his mouth, I was so embarrassed. He said, Mom, knock it the F off. And what he meant was she was so desperate to hear from him that it became a consuming preoccupation. I noticed there's something in my house?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if it'll pick back up.
No, are you picking up on something?
Stream resumed. Okay.
since we were talking before the show.
We might be good. It says stream resumed, so it might just pick up a glitch. And sorry, guys. William actually predicted this before the show. he said something was going to happen, and there it was. So.
And I can't see you, Mike. You're black. The whole thing's black.
Am I really?
You sure are.
I'm coming through on the stream.
That's so weird. Okay.
That's really weird.
No, I can't see you either.
Maybe that's a Skype thing. Yeah, Skype shows me as black.
Really?
Wow, that's really weird. But yeah, they see me on the broadcast because I have the broadcast running in the previewer. So.
Well, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
A shorter gentleman, medium build, thinning hair on top. Can't even say if he's attached to you. Might be to the location. But
I built this house, so I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Not a little bitty fella, but I would say maybe 5'8", 5'9". Bigger than me. But bigger than me, but not like tall, you know. And then you have a really a loud running water sound.
Not sure what that's about.
I don't either. So you let me know if you ever figure it out. But I wanted to ask you that before the show started. And we got to talking about something else. It is so weird not being able to see you, Mike. So I'm just watching you on my.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know.
It's just one of those technical glitches, difficulties. William's aura, you know.
There you go.
It happens to almost every interview I do, whether it's by Skype or by phone. So I'm very sorry.
And we'd gone most of the show too. It was like 50 minutes into it, and then boom.
It's okay. It's stranger things have happened. Don't you even worry about it.
Well, true enough. There's been times we've had struggles just getting the show launched back in the day.
Big time. Let's see. I'm trying to go back and make sure that
Let's see if we got all the questions.
Yeah, and no, Robert, I am being good. I am not going to say bad words because we have a nice guest. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, Vanessa's been staying away.
That's very respectful. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, they're used to it. I told you they were going to say something, but
yeah, I guess we'll just make a last call for questions. I'm scrolling back up to see if we missed anything while we were fixing the show. So.
Now, William, what do you have coming up? Do you have any events coming up?
I do. I'm trying to break out of Pennsylvania, and I'm not having much luck doing that. So all of the events that I'm doing are Pennsylvania-based. So if any of our viewers or listeners are in Pennsylvania, you could always check out my website to see where I'm going to be or what I'm going to be doing. And my website is williamstillman.com.
I have a very dear friend who lives in Easton, Pennsylvania.
I have some events coming up in the Allentown area, so that's not too awfully far away.
It sure isn't. I'll have to tell Julia about that. And Rachel, I'm part of Threefold Paranormal. We're the main case that we're working on is the missing children from the Cropsey case in Staten Island, New York. And I actually investigated Julia's house, Horsefly Chronicles house, in Easton, Pennsylvania, and Rachel, our other member, just moved back to Jersey, so she's relatively close. So they might come and check out one of your events. I can't make it up there anytime soon, but they're wonderful, wonderful ladies, wonderful ladies. So, and if they're not watching this right now, they go back and will rewatch it, so they'll see this and they'll check out. 3 years.
Yep, now it was your turn to break up, Vanessa.
Okay.
And there she's gone. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Well, we do have the question from the chat is Beat 3 Airspace. Please ask William to come back again. So we will have to have you back. It's been a great conversation.
I would be honored to come back. Thank you.
And she just totally blew out for a second.
We're having a heck of a time tonight.
Oh, yeah. So, but as far as events, we do have, and I don't know how much you travel, but we do have our event, the Hunter Road Media Paracon in Alton, Illinois on June 9th. So you're welcome to come out to that. And well, all of our speaker spots are taken up, but you're welcome to the vendor table.
Thank you. What I love doing more than anything and what I am passionate about is stepping out onto a stage and working with a live audience.
Yep, understandable. So we'll have to get you out next year then.
Absolutely love it.
Okay.
And I get blown away by what happens and what comes out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I also have to tell you, and I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, we got a couple minutes left.
Within the past few years, there's been this really odd connection with extraterrestrials that is popping up in almost every live event that I do, where there is someone in the audience that gets singled out, usually a man, who has seen a UFO, has had an experience as a child, has had missing time as a child, and has something implanted behind an ear or has a mark on their genitals.
Interesting. And I'm
not sure exactly what it's all about, but it keeps coming up, and it's really interesting.
It keeps coming up in each of your presentations, each of your events?
Yes.
Interesting.
That's weird. Now, for me to call something weird, that's weird. Okay.
Well, on 2 occasions, I ended up channeling that extraterrestrial presence. And
did you really?
What he had to say was fascinating. And I developed amnesia about most of what I do. Unfortunately, someone was transcribing every word. So I'm grateful to have that. But this presence was calling, my eyes were closed the entire time. This presence was calling on people and singling them out before they even raised their hands. It was answering questions before they were asked. It was
wow.
It was quite something.
Wow. That is dang.
So let me ask you this real quick. And I know we're just about of time, but you've talked a lot about spirit, loved ones, etc. So how do aliens and alien spirits play into all this, since it seems obvious you believe in aliens?
Well, they originate from the same source that we do. I mean, they they know about God.
Okay, and I've speculated that maybe just because I've kind of recently gone down the path of reincarnation and what have you, that if that does happen, maybe we get reincarnated as aliens at some point.
Well, there are many ways of being other than human. Mm-hmm. And there have been several occasions when I have sat across from a client in a private session, and I have had to say to them, the reason you have struggled so much socially, the reason why you've had such a difficult time fitting in, the reason why you don't understand greed and the strive for power and money is because you're not from here. You are not accustomed to being human. Mm-hmm.
Hey, just describe me. I don't get those things. I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand massive ego. I don't understand greed.
Rebecca Gardner's down there. That's me.
Yeah, I don't understand excessive violence.
And the curious thing is, these people look like you would expect them to look.
Yeah.
They, very thin faces, large eyes, high cheekbones, little dots for nostrils, a little slit for a mouth. And this has happened about 3 or 4 times. They've all burst into tears when I've told them this.
Okay, well, I'm chubby and I got a big old mouth, so that's not me. But I mean, the rest of it, yeah, and I just always assumed that it was, just being enlightened. I just don't understand. I don't understand, like I said, excessive violence, greed, ego. I don't get it. Yeah. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me why that seems to be what people flock to. Like, there's so much more. There's adventure and love and community and brothers and sisters, not just by blood, but there's experiences as humans.
That's why Vanessa, that's why we've come through the fire, to be bridges for those folks who are aspiring to transform. And we are agents of change.
Doing my darndest. I'm trying. Some days are harder than others, but oh, hey, BD Flint just gave us $5.
$5 super chat from BD Flint right here at the end of the show. And we do have to wrap it up because we have another show right after this. So, so William, really do want to thank you for coming on. It's been a fantastic conversation. We'll definitely have to have you back.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure, and I'm so glad to know you. And Vanessa in particular, you're a joy. So thank you for having me.
And William's latest book is The Secret Language of Spirit. So be sure to check that out. You can also find him at williamstillman.com. Bill, anywhere else they can find you?
I'm on Facebook at William Stillman Psychic Medium. And if you like and follow me, then you'll be sure to get my original inspirational quotes that I put up every morning that I pair with an image, and it might be a nice way to start your day.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll get into shout-outs real quick, and then we'll have to flip over to Inside the Upside Down. So Inside the Upside Down, we're doing Gonsfeld Experiment, which we were supposed to do last week, but Shauna was just totally zonked out. She wasn't feeling well, so we're doing that this week. And hey, if you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. So we'll try to run through these pretty quick. Of course, there's Shauna, our chat shenanigator, who will be joining us next show. Lynn's White, thank you very much for joining us. I think there's people still down in Periscope. It kind of turned off when we had our whole glitch, so thank you, Periscope peeps. Carrie Parrish, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Zippy Davis, Katie Palmer, Charmy Charms. You know what? I need to go through the Super Chat Superstars. I should have done that first. And you know what? It blew out on me. It's looking all black. It is all black. But we've got Tom McNicholas. Andrew Cox had the big $25 one. Jen had two of them. At 10. Tammy Heitzman, thank you, and BD Flint. So those are our Super Chat Superstars. And so there's your shout outs as well.
Wait, Mike, is it okay for me to say goodbye
now? I'm sorry, William. Yeah, you can go ahead and go. We don't need to keep you around for the shout outs. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you again,
William.
William.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. So, and there's Sean Gilmore, who we will be investigating from at Ohio State Reformatory on Thursday together, which would be very, very cool. Bonnie Halperin, Dawn Spooky Spectacular, Pamela Rainey, Fran Molino, Movie Star Memories. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Karen Lynn, River City Paranormal. Have a good night. You guys had a lot of people in chat tonight.
Oh yeah.
Fungi, thank you. Labuda 61. Thank you. Donna Gorton, our Cheshire Cat in the house this evening. Sean Oldsmith from Australia, thank you very much. I think I saw Robert White in there as well, right?
Uh-huh.
So Robert White. Diane Hilbert, thank you. Candy Orton, thank you very much, as always. Cheryl Midkiff, thanks for joining us again. Ludafan G, thank you. Unknown Darkness, that is Katie Hopkins. And Katie is going to be on next Tuesday. It is her book release day, so we're going to talk about her book next Tuesday, and that is Seeing Spirits. So check that out from Haunted Road Media next Tuesday. Zippy Davis, first one in the house again.
And don't forget, we had Kelly Dahl, we had Karen Lynn, we had Gwen from BPI. We had, what was it, movie time, Movie Star Memories. We had
Tim Schoen.
Yeah, we had Sean Olsen too.
Yeah, Bethany Warner. There's this Vanessa Renee Hogel in here.
I heard that bitch.
I don't know. It's got all them hearts in there though, so she's showing some love.
I know. Big old heifer.
Oh, stop that. I think we got Rebecca Gardner, right? Bonnie Halperin. So that's our other Cheshire cat. I think we got Tammy Heitzman. Well, yeah, because Tammy had a super chat. So Sharon R. Thank you, Kathy1313. And you're a lot of you guys in chat tonight.
Shauna says at one time she saw 64. I saw 67 people watch.
Yeah, I saw 67 at one point.
67.
That's pretty good. And Shauna is also saying Joanne Briggs from New Zealand. Cool. So we've got New Zealand, Australia in the house, all over the country. We have somebody from the UK in the house. I know we have Canada represented. So we get a lot of people worldwide. Oh, and while we're talking about worldwide, Rika Yamakaze, I know you're going to watch the replay. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Ava Gellert. There we go.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and Robert White points out, yeah, but only 55 likes. Ether Shadow. There we go. Can't forget Ether Shadow. All right.
They'll get it. What was I going to say? Also, here's one thing. Here's one thing on the likes. If people are on Facebook, when they go to pull it up, if they're not logged into their YouTube account, they can't like it from that link.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and that's why I always put the link and I don't embed the video onto Facebook, because Facebook and YouTube just don't like each other. So I just put a photo on there and then I put the link straight to the show, so you can come here and yeah, they just don't play nice anymore.
They really don't. Yeah, they really don't. But anyway, yeah, right. I'm beat. Yeah.
You're beat. I've got another show to do. Shauna is going to be joining me for that. So, yeah, stay tuned. We're going to get off here. I'm going to switch stuff out, and we'll be back here just before the top of the hour. So, everybody, thank you very much. It was a great evening, and really appreciate all of your support. You guys are absolutely fantastic. You Mad Hatters are wonderful. So,
love you guys.
Have a great night. We'll see you in a few.
Bye.